welcome back. Okay, so now let's create a database that we can use to read our data. Okay, database, very important. So let's open up localhost/phpMyAdmin. So type that in your browser, localhost/phpMyAdmin. So provided you have installed your XAMPP properly, you should see something that looks like this. So it might not be XAMPP, it might be MUMP or WAMP. It should still look like this. And so on this side, let's create new. Let's click new so that we create our own database. So what are we going to call this database? We're going to call this one, let's just call it My Company. My Company. So the database name can be anything, really. Maybe to simplify it, let's just call it My Data, something like that. And once we add the name, just don't put spaces there. Use underscore if you have to. Hit create. And now we can create a table, but instead of doing that and suffering, I have already done that on your behalf. So you can just copy a file that we are going to import in here. Now, if you're not able to import the file, you can just create a table from here and then add some number of columns that you want. Now, let me show you the file itself. So if I go to the desktop, that's where I have it here, but you can download your version in the link in the description. It's called employeestable.sql. So I'll drag it into my project. And this is the file. So we're going to examine the file a little bit. So here, all the file is doing is, these are instructions to the MySQL database here. So the instructions for running here. So you have to click on the SQL tab here to run these instructions. So you click on that. Let's just go there. And then there's SQL. So whatever you paste here will run as an SQL statement. Okay. So if, for example, now I come back here, this first line, for example, is saying drop table if exists employees. It just means if the employees table already exists, delete it. So before running this, if you already have another employees table and you don't want to remove it, you can comment out this one by doing that. Okay, /* and then * like that. So this is commented out. And then you can say create this part here, create table employees. Up to here is what creates the table itself. And then this part from here inserts the data that we want up to there. So if you can't find this file for some reason, all you have to do is copy the text that is written here right now. So just type this here and then copy it and paste it in the SQL tab. Okay. But if you have this file, just select everything in the file and run it. But for the sake of those that don't have it and only typed it, I'm going to copy this first part here so that we can run it by itself first, and I will copy. Now if you right click here, you don't see paste, but just use the keyboard Ctrl+V and then click go. Now it's very important to make sure that the My Data database is selected, and you can see that by looking at this. It says database My Data. Let's go. So once we do that, it has created a table for us here. As you can see, there's an employees table, but there is no data inside there. So we can go back to our SQL table and run the rest of the code. So I'm going to copy that. Now, if you are unable for some reason to run this and you don't have this copy of the file, all you have to do is go to the insert here, click insert, and then it gives you 2 spaces to insert what you want to insert. So just type all kinds of data here. Just don't add anything on the employee number. That will be added automatically because that is set as the primary key. Actually, my bad here. It's supposed to be auto increment right here. So primary key. Actually, let me move this data for a second. Sorry there. That is my bad. So I'm going to say employee int there, not now. I'll say primary key. I'll put that primary key there. So I'll remove it from here like so. And then I'll say auto underscore increment like that. Well, it was supposed to show something there, but hey, let's give it a shot, shall we? So if you don't want to go through the trouble of doing that, you can simply go back to the structure here, since we've already added that, and then you can make sure that you click change on the employee number. We want it to automatically add a number by itself, and just make sure that AI here, auto increment, is ticked, and then hit save like that, and then that'll be good enough. Then you don't need to worry about the employee number. Okay, but we want to do it programmatically here, so I'm going to use this drop table, copy that to delete the table. So I'm going to go to SQL and paste and hit go. Yes, and so the employees table is gone. So be careful when doing that. Just make sure you are on the right database. So let me go back to SQL here and copy this back. So I want that to be added automatically. Paste and then say go. Okay, so it has worked, and if I go back to the structure, you will see that auto increment is there now, which is good. So now if I go to the SQL tab, oh, actually this is going to be a little bit of a problem. Where the problem is because we are supplying employee number. But let's give it a shot still and see what happens. So I'm going to copy all this here and then paste it there and hit go. Okay, so it has worked just fine. So let's go to browse here. And now once we get here, you see that we have all these records here, which is good. So we can work with these. Very nice. So now all we need to do is be able to read from here onto our interface over there. So I want it to auto-generate the headings like this, these headings there, and then add the data. So what I want the table to be is agnostic, so that it doesn't need to know what columns the table has. All it needs to do is read the current data and add it accordingly. Add as many columns as it needs accordingly, and so on. Okay, so let's see how we can do something like that. So the first thing we have to do is create a connection to the server side so we can read some data. Okay, now that we've created our table, let's do the reading in the next video.